Hey, what's up, everyone? Mike here from The Art of Guitar, here with just a little bit of a speech about how your dreams that you've had your whole life may actually be holding you back later on in life. And I experienced this firsthand because I remember, I'd say it was about 12 years ago, all I wanted to do was publish a method book for guitar. And I wanted to do this so bad that I actually did it all at home on my home computer on Illustrator. And I had all the pages laid out and I brought it to a printer. Actually, I brought it to Kinko's and I printed them out. But I had to staple them together. I had my own method books. And after a while, I found a place that would actually do it for me. So I had a couple more made. I had about 20 to 50 books made. And at the place I was teaching at the time, they actually sold the books, which is really cool. And I thought my dream is to just to have that book published and have it all over, all over the world teaching people. And I was thinking at a certain level because that's all I really thought I could do. So I held on to that dream for a long time. And little did I know this thing called YouTube would eventually take off for me. And checked the other day, we're up to 30 million views total since the beginning of the channel. And I thought about it, and I remember the day I finally let go of my dream of having a method book. I thought, man, if I had a really successful method book, I would probably have reached, if I was lucky, tens of thousands of people, let's say. But through YouTube and from changing my dream a little bit, altering it, re-examining it, and going on a different direction than I thought I was going to, it really opened up to a much bigger audience. This also happened when I was in my teenage metal band, which I always talk about, such a big part of my life, and it really set me on my course and taught me a lot of lessons. And a big part of that getting over a certain dream was I always dreamed of being in this like real famous metal band. We could play anywhere, open for Megadeth, play with whoever, And it came to the point where I had to make a decision. It was in my early 20s when I left the band. And I remember I really just wanted to tour the world and play music. And we did a few short tours. And there was one in particular where we slept overnight in the van. And I woke up and I remember I woke up and I was feeling terrible because I had a lot of allergies back then. I still do. But I woke up feeling really bad. And I remember just looking and my face was right next to my bass player's butt all night. And I woke up and I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't as glamorous as I thought it was going to be. You hear about touring when you're younger and you think it's going to be the be-all end-all. And it was fun, but after a while, kind of the luster wore off of it, and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And recently even, I was offered a gig where I could play with this band that tours all the time. And I actually turned it down because it came to the point where I thought, I really just love sitting in the studio and teaching my video lessons. And I love teaching in real life, which I do as well, private lessons. And I love playing in my bands that I'm in and going to jiu-jitsu and doing everything I love to do in my life. And if I had to uproot that and suddenly just go on tour all the time and wake up on a tour bus, sure, we'd have some great shows, of course, playing in front of a lot of people. But eventually I realized how strange that was, that my dream had changed so much that all of a sudden the very thing that I thought I wanted, I was turning down. And then I heard a couple stories recently where friends of mine kind of had this thing in their brain that they've been dreaming about their whole life. One person, it was having their original music take off, and another person, it was writing as a profession. And it was really strange how I saw both of them sort of come to these realizations like, you know what? I've been holding on to this dream for so long that I never even thought about an alternative. It was kind of this like comfortable blanket that they would just keep laying inside of, like hiding behind. Because they thought, as long as I have the dream of what I want to do, even if I'm not fully pursuing it, I can always say, well, I have this dream of doing this or that. And they never really have to escape the warmth of that blanket in bed, let's say, to get out into this cold world and actually do the work to make it happen. And I thought about it, I'm like, that's kind of like admitting you really don't want the very thing you keep saying your dream is. And maybe that comfort blanket is actually holding you back from doing the other things that you might actually be more able to do at this time in your life. So for example, like if I would have held on to my dream about just writing a really popular method book, I may have stifled myself into never even doing a YouTube channel. So it's kind of strange how letting that dream die knowing it just wasn't for me anymore really opened the doors for bigger and better things. And same with doing this, like playing in a band and touring would be great, but at this point in my life, I really don't feel like it's this huge deal to me anymore. So because I'm not doing that, I'm able to fulfill all the other wishes that I know I want to do now. So sometimes having a dream can sort of blind you a little bit, especially if it's not a burning desire. Like if you're not doing something every day to go towards that dream, you might want to reassess it and say, do I really want to write the next Harry Potter? Or am I just saying in my head, if I really tried, I could do it. It's my dream. Someday I'm going to do it. And that's keeping you from actually doing the other things that you really should be doing. So even on a level basis, let's say you don't want to write the next Harry Potter, but you just could be a very good self-published author. Let's say that's the case. Well, you might not even do that because you're setting your sights so high that you don't see all the stuff you need to do to get there. So some people won't even get started because it looks like such a huge thing. The other day I did a video on writing a song in less than 5 minutes, and some people thought that was clickbait. But if you think about it, it's the same concept. If you think you have to write the next Beatles song, it's way up there. How are you going to get there when the Beatles are the Beatles, So it might even just paralyze you to not even get started. So you might want to reassess where you set your dreams. I'm not saying you shouldn't dream about big things. Who knows? If you do it at the right time and you really work your butt off and you get there, you'll live your dream and that'll be great. But reassess them every once in a while. This is a very important thing I learned when I did a lot of the self-help stuff. You probably see the Tony Robbins stuff over here that I grew up listening to. But it talked about have a dream, of course, like a burning desire inside. But if you don't follow through, you might have to reassess that dream like every few months. Go, you know what? Do I really want to go on a world tour all the time? Do I want to live that lifestyle? Do I want to live on a tour bus? If yes, then do it for sure. And if every day you're working hard, getting your band up to the level you need it to be, getting your playing up to the level you need to be, making the contacts, all that stuff, that's great. If not, if you're just sitting around going, I could do it if I really tried, then you might want to ask yourself if that's really for you at this time. I had to do the same thing with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing it for 14 years now, not constantly and consistently, but just, steadily, I would say, but not super obsessive like I should be. And I had asked myself one day, is this something I want to dedicate my entire life to? Because if I did, I know I could advance much quicker than I am. But I had to decide around the 10-year mark, I have music. I have all this other stuff in my life that I love. And jiu-jitsu is one component of that. But if it was my only desire and I really just wanted a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I would have had it by now. But I had to come to that realization that, I chose not to do that. I chose to do other things as well. So I had to sort of buffer that dream down just a bit, because if I made that my number one priority, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you guys because I wouldn't have the time. I'd be at home probably recovering. It's one of those things that are very taxing on the body and the mind as well. I get super obsessed with whatever I do. So my message overall today is have goals, have big dreams, of course, because that's really going to get you going in the right direction if that's really what you want to do. But if you find yourself not putting forth the effort and just having this pipe dream hanging over the top of you, realize that could actually go against you and it can actually hold you back, which is kind of ironic that your dream can hold you back. But it might just be an illusion. You might not even want what you think you're dreaming about anymore. And once that clears out of the way, you'll have this crazy moment, maybe a crisis, oh, what do I do now? My whole life I thought I was going to be a ballerina or something. All of a sudden that's gone. This happens to a lot of people when they get injured, by the way. All of a sudden they have to reassess what they want to do. And if deep down you find out that you really didn't want to do it, well, now new things can bubble up and you can actually pursue those. So let's say your dream was to be an MMA fighter. And in the end, you realize that you didn't really want to do all the work. And, the lifestyle of an MMA fighter is really intense. I have a lot of friends that do that. So it gets to the point where you're like, that's not for me. Okay, well, I can let that go now. Maybe your dream was to teach and open your own school like my friend Nate did. All of a sudden, he's not doing MMA anymore, but he's teaching people Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is awesome. And he's great at it. So it gets to the point where you might find that you're actually suited for something that's not quite the dream you aimed for, but it was, maybe related. Or maybe not related at all. There's some saying, I'll probably butcher it, but it's something about aim for the moon, and if you miss, you'll still end up in the stars or something like that. I found that that does happen a lot. Like you make, like this big goal and you go for it and you find out that, hey, actually something else is working out better for me. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing that. For example, my dad, he has a channel called Mike Nastics, and he does backyard gymnastics at his age. It's crazy. Anyways, his initial idea was to inspire older people that they could still do physical activity and they could still, do amazing things at their age. Well, as he put out his videos on public access, because back then YouTube wasn't around, he realized he was getting this big following from college kids that were just sitting around getting stoned. So it was really funny because he would walk out in public, like at the state fair, and a bunch of college kids would run up and say, "Oh, we love Mike Nastics. It's so cool." And he was really surprised to find out that his demographic that he was aiming for was not the ones watching. It was just this whole other group. So he aimed for something, didn't quite hit it, but in the process of actually trying, he made it to another really awesome place. And to this day, people still talk about his channel he has now on YouTube, and he's actually going to be coming out with a podcast soon. So it's kind of funny how that ended up being his success when initially he thought it was going to be something completely different. So how this pertains to guitar, if you want to be the next Steve Vai and you keep telling yourself, oh, if I really tried, I could be awesome at guitar. Well, maybe not though. Maybe you don't want to be the next Steve Vai. Maybe you just want to sit in your room, play some chords, jam out in front of a black light and a lava lamp and have fun and impress girls. Who knows? That could be what guitar does for you. Or you might be the best college professor ever for teaching, or you might have your own YouTube channel. There's so many places to go with guitar that maybe your idea of being the best guitar player in the world, I want to be the next Guthrie Govan. Well, that's great if that's really what you want, but if you're not putting the work towards doing it, you might want to reassess and say, you know what? If I just get over that dream, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe instead I want to play guitar at a nursing home or something and make people feel good. So there's room for things, but sometimes you got to clear out some space so you can make room for those other dreams that you might not even realize you have until you get rid of the pipe dream that you've been holding on to your whole life. Okay, last thing I want to leave you with is, once again, don't give up on your dreams if that's really what you want to do. But how do you know it's really what you want to do? Are you kicking ass every day towards that dream? If not, reassess, okay? All right, guys, we actually have a bass artist series coming out soon, so I'm excited about that. I have to get practicing on it. It's going to be a difficult one, but I'm looking forward to it. And we'll catch you guys later. Also, a new podcast is coming out too, so lots of stuff in the works. Catch you guys later. Thanks.